Hello, everyone, and welcome to this pre-recorded class. Actually, I'm recording this class on Wednesday, uh, 6/21. So trying to be as motivated that it's supposed to be. So since we're doing this asynchronously, I want to treat you the same way that we treat you when we are in class. So when you need it, so pause the video, um, and write some notes. And you have questions, you can definitely send me a note or reach out to me through the inbox and let me know you have additional questions or concerns about this class. Today, we're going to explore something that may seem simple at first. Um, what is the definition and the difference between portraits and self-portraits? Again, it looks like a simple thing, but I will promise you that at the end of the session, you'll have additional uh, ideas, and probably you will be thinking about portraits and self-portraits in a completely different way. And more important, you will start thinking about how you want to represent yourself and not capture others in portraits and in self portraits. But before we jump into the topic and start looking at some material that I have prepared for you, I want you to pause for just 10, 15 seconds now and think about this. If someone were to take a portrait of you right now, not a selfie, it's a real portrait, it's a photographer. If I'm about to take a portrait of you right now, what would it say about you? What will be your desire about that? Are you want what you want to express about yourself? What you want to say? Think about that. Pause the video. Think about that and write down some ideas about this. I'll give you a second to do it. All right. I hope that you pull the video and think about the question and write down some ideas. Those ideas will be helpful for the upcoming conversation. All right, so let's start with the very simple definitions and differences. And let's start with the portrait. What is a portrait? So a portrait in general, not just in photography in general, a portrait is a representation of a person, or could be also an object or an animal, uh, or a group of people. The focus of a portrait is primarily on the face, but that is not always the case, right? Sometimes the portrait is partial, it's not includes just partial of the face, or sometimes a portrait is about other parts of the body. That's a special cases, but in general, portraits represent a person, an animal, an object, a group of person, group of people, and focus primarily on the expression. And that expression is basically the face. But it's also about the identity and also about the personality of the subject. Um, the keyword here, or the most important thing here, is representation. So a portrait is not just a record of a person, of a subject, is how we represent that. We represent that person, or how we represent that object, or how we represent that animal. So it's more like an idea of the person, of course, using the image of the person. That's why it's not just automatic or default record of the person. It's more is conclusion, or is the result of an exploration of that person. That's why the photographers that do portraits as a discipline um, need to explore about the subject and know something about the subject. And that's why in the previous assignment, the in-class assignment of the last class, I asked you to have a conversation, because based on that conversation, you can explore aspects, characteristics of the subject, and those aspects and characteristics of the subject will help you to decide how you want to represent that person in a portrait. So again, portraits are representations of of a person, a group of person, an animal, etc. Now, a self-portrait is is a special type of portrait um, where the photographer and the subject are the same person. A self-portrait is not a selfie, and I will explain the difference between self-portrait and selfie. I'm going to use the definition of portrait. Remember, portrait is about representation. So I will say, in general terms, that a self-portrait is not a selfie. A selfie is typically something spontaneous, casual, taken with the phone or lens, right, or using a mirror, often for social media or for sharing purposes in general. It is usually about documentation in general terms. A selfie is a testimony that I was here, I was in a specific location, or I looked like this, or I was having fun, I was eating this, I was with this person, etc., etc. So it's about documentation. You are recording something and you are sharing that with your group of people, with the universe using social media. It's nothing wrong with that. Actually, it's a selfie is a very, very powerful expression. But the selfie is not intentional. Selfie is more spontaneous, it's more casual. It's more about the situation, right? And how I look, and not about a specific concept that I want to transmit. It's not a representation. A self portrait is more intentional, right? It involves more choices. Uh, it's about a selection of the lighting, the composition, the setting, the props, the expression, the symbols. So it's about communicating something deeper about who you are. And so that's is basically the difference between a self-portrait and a selfie. Technically, it could be the same. So we can use techniques that are derived from selfies to do self-portraits, but it requires more elaboration, right? Sorry, guys, I'm hearing the. Okay, let's continue. The tool that I'm using for recording that is was sending me a message. Let's take a look now that we define uh, what is um, what is a portrait, what is a self-portrait, and what is a selfie. Let's I don't want to explore or expand myself in the all the different aspect of the selfie. You know about that. But let's concentrate on portraits and self-portrait. Let me share my screen and show you some examples of famous examples on, of portraits and self-portraits. Right. You see my screen. I can show you some. Let's start with portraits. Let's start with this. Probably this one is a portrait that you might maybe know, or you probably is something that you saw in a publication, etc. Is and there is a lot of variation. The photographer is McCurry, and he tried to capture uh, a kind of contradiction here. That's the key of this representation. The contradiction is the beauty of the eyes and the beauty of this girl, and the contradiction is that all the situation that this girl is going through, the war, segregation, the violence, and that is not evident in the face, but it's evident in the cloth you see here. Also, some aspect of the skin. Uh, and the glance is so focused. So is this little girl is like interrogating us about the all the situation that he is going through, and the uh, problems that many people are facing in this war with the injustice and war, etc. So as you look at here, all the aspects that I mentioned about portraits, so the intentionality, the lighting, the background, the colors, the composition, this is not casual at all. It's 100% intentional. And it's not just about a person that has some beautiful eyes or beautiful skin. No, it's about the representation of a concept, what that person represent to us. It's another example. This is Salvador Dali, and again, another very intentional portrait, trying to capture some specific features of Dali, the mustache, of course, but also the way that he was looking at the world. Uh, is a kind of mad person, but and he's super focused on things, looking at things as nobody was able to look at things. Um, Imaginative, creative expression. That's the intention of this. So it's looking at us as it's like a challenge for our way to see the world. Let's take a look at another example. This is Steve Jobs. Probably know this portrait as well. And look at the simplicity and the austerity of this portrait. It's not about colors, it's more about a specific uh, posture, uh, the gesture with the hand, the is try to represent a person that is extremely clever or was extremely clever, analytical, but also calm and very focused. On the other side, we have this picture. This is more on the fashion side, and it's all about colors and the contrast and the beauty and different kind of beauties. Look at how the colors are combined here using high contrast from the background and the foreground and the iris. Um, Sometimes the portrait is a combination of what the photographer wants to capture and what the subject wants to express. This is a perfect example. Uh, Albert Einstein. So a photographer tried to capture a portrait of Albert Einstein, and at that very moment, um, he made this expression, like a childish expression, and then the photographer captured the picture. So this picture is a combination of what the intentions of the photographer, and the intentions of the subject, and that is very common in portrait photography. It's like a dialogue. One, if I am the subject, I want to express something about myself, and if I am the photographer, I want to capture about that person. And sometimes the result is not at one end or at the other end. At the other end is something in the middle. It's a combination of those two forces that are fighting during the photographic session. Um, this is another example. It's a very, very, very famous picture of during the old recession. Um, the 20s in the United States, the migrant mother with two kids uh, looking at the horizon with despair, and the kids are hiding the face. So we're trying to represent, in this case, um, uh, uh, poverty, of course, uh, a situation that was extremely, extremely bad for people that lost the properties and lost the crops uh, during the Big Depression. It's a kind of human documentation of the social impact of that at that time. Just not about the economy and numbers and statistics. It's more like putting a face in front of those statistics. All right, those are, I will say, good examples of portraits. But what about self-portraits? Let's take a look at one that is quite peculiar. This one. This is Vivian Maier. Vivian Maier was a very peculiar photographer in the 50s and the 60s. And he was a street photographer. She was a street photographer. So she just walked through the streets in Chicago and New York and took pictures of things that things that were attractive to her. But one important chunk uh, of her portfolio is devoted to self-portraits, as this one. So using reflections, mirrors in stores to capture this kind of self-portraits that at first looks like very simplistic self-portraits, but it's a way to represent herself in the middle of the city as a person that is walking the city, documenting the city, and at the same time documenting herself in that situation, in that scenario. This is another self-portrait by Vivian Maier. Look at this. This is way more intentional. Uh, I think that this is a very good example of the difference between a selfie and a self-portrait. Look at how he moved his face to make the shadow be on a precise location of the face, right? And have half of the body in the dark, half of the body in the light, and this line crossing the left eye is so intentional. I think that this is a very good example of this kind of difference between a portrait and a self-portrait. To another, this is another very good example of self-portrait by Vivian Maier. Look at this. So walking the street, she saw this group of people doing was moving something, and this person was taking a mirror, and probably they have some kind of communication, right? And Vivian Maier asked him probably to keep the pose for a moment, just enough time for her to take the self portrait. So this is a combination of a portrait of this person and a self portrait. Quite interesting, quite fascinating, right? This is another example. Self-portrait is another photographer, Richard Avedon. And this is a portrait, but it's a portrait of a photographer. And the expression and the environment is so important here. So important here. So in these examples, you can see, and this is another beautiful example of a intentional portrait. Combining the pose, the background, the element, the props like this, in a beautiful composition that represents something or to try to represent something about a person. So in a nutshell, portraits are about representation and self-portraits are about self-representation. So they are extremely intentional. And that is the difference between a self-portrait and a selfie. Stop sharing here. So basically the three concepts that I would like to cover today. So what is a portrait? What is a self-portrait? And the difference between that self-portrait and a selfie. And what we need to take into consideration to account when we take one of another or another. And just some examples. So a very important foundation for the rest of the assignments. Uh, Next week we're gonna explore portraits in a more I mean not as intuitive as we explored on the last class, in a more formal way, with more direction, with more intentionality, and also we'll start working on self-portrait. Self-portrait will be key for the rest, some of the future assignments, and and also will be key for your portfolio. I will let you know later what will be the role of your self portrait in the configuration of your portfolio. Um, all right. So I will post, in addition to this video, a short assignment. The short assignment will be around the concept that we cover here. And I want you to spend some minutes reflecting on or creating a kind of plan for a portrait and for a self-portrait. Thinking about what would you will take into consideration for your self-portrait and write it down as a plan, description of the idea, the concept, and the plan to take it. And also the same thing for a portrait. Thinking about a friend or family member that you are planning to take a portrait. So I will be the consideration, the aspect that you want to take into consideration for the execution of a good portrait. So look at the assignment, this quick assignment, and submit it. I would love if you combine this video with the assignment. So watch this video entirely, pause if you want to pause it and take notes. And then after that, after the video, so right now, after you finish watching this video, use the rest of the time to go over this quick assignment and submit it. Next class, we're gonna go continue reflecting on portraits, but this class was more about the concept and the philosophy around portraits. Next class will be more on the techniques that we need to take into consideration, basically croppings, compositions, lighting, and elements that make a portrait a technically good portrait. Well, I hope you enjoy this format of the class. It's a little is a little different. Give us some freedom and gives you some freedom on how you use your time. And I hope you enjoy this quick assignment. If you have any question, as usual, drop me a line, let me know. And I also hope you enjoy the reflection that you'll be doing with the short assignment. Take care and see you next week.